Let's say this delicate mug represents the event. This string attached to it represents time, say 1 or 2 hours. The metal washer attached to the string represents our passionate presenters. And this wooden spoon represents you, the audience. So when I describe the event to people, this is what they imagine. Where it's going to be a car crash of an evening. But thank you to our passionate presenters, grab you, the audience, and stop the evening from being a disaster.
So I'm here today to tell you about some of my favourite hobbies. So I'm not really suited to being in the outdoors. My friends often say that I'm more suited to reviewing things like Castles for the Guardian with the way that I'm dressed rather than actually romping around the countryside. I prefer to spend my time in cities, so I travel around a lot around the world. I like going to museums, art galleries, cafes, because you know it's civilised. And there's a little bit more to do in cities. But I think you need to make up your own fun as an adult. And do you remember we've got all the resurgence of things like the Ladybird books? What I really want to see is an adult version of the I Spy. So when you're out and about in the city, you've got things that you can go and see. And I just like a good old list. Who doesn't like a list? So paronomasia is an amazing thing, which is the pun. And as Brits, we're really, really, really good at coming up with puns. So this was in a red top rag, but also things like Private Eye are excellent at creating puns. It's life affirming, it's fun, abracadabra. This is in Dublin. You don't have to be drunk to go in, it's just brilliant. And I really want you to support local businesses, especially ones who've spent some time coming up with excellent names for their businesses. So I take pictures of these, and my friends alerted me to a Guardian Witness account, which was for sharing your shop name puns. At one point, I'd submitted 80% of their content. So it's something that I'm really committed to sharing. So on Twitter, guys, on the Bettakultcha hashtag, we have a selection of hairdressers for you from across the globe, which I think have done a pretty good job of choosing some excellent puns there. So take your pick. They will not affect your political views, and you won't get charged either. Hairport is in York, Curl Up and Dye is in London, Barbara of Neville is in Durham, and Just Teasing is in New Zealand. Wokeness, where do you think that's from? That is an Edinburgh contribution, and quite often I do have to gin and bear it, so I very much approve of that one as well. But you can genuinely find them anywhere for any sort of business. It's not just food outlets. Smoothie Criminal I spotted last week on holiday in Split, and I can assure you that not a penny has gone to the Michael Jackson Foundation / family for them to put that, but they didn't have any of their smoothies as puns, which I think they're missing out on. But this was sent from a friend. Now, I would absolutely say it is worth driving to Cornwall, where this business operates, to get your car valeted by Spandau Valet. It is worth the money in itself, guys. So I want you to check on Twitter, the guys at home and the guys here, and we'll see who has won in the best hairdressers pun. And hopefully we can send them some sort of certificate to prove that they are genuinely the best at paronomasia. Thank you.
I was kind of hoping this would be my dad, so I had something to talk about because I had it all planned out when I go ahead. So I've been looking for my dad for 2 years, mainly using a personal assistant. These are 2 of them. He has a bit of a clown fetish, so generally speaking, clowns are the best way to go when you're searching for a stranger. They blend right in. I knew my dad ever since I was a baby. I never knew quite what to make of him at the time. Often I've wondered if maybe he wasn't even human. He could have been a chicken. I know he was very into his cars, and I guess that's a kind of chicken car. I often distracted from the absence of my father by playing Lego. I would often build another version of a father, and he would give me presents, which often would also be made of Lego. Here is an elephant with its father. They look very happy. This is my garden, which I often spent a lot of time on my own, wishing I had to have someone to push me on the swing. And that just makes me sad.
Please welcome on stage, Peg Alexander!
So when I was a teenager growing up in Leeds in the 80s, some friends nicknamed me Rita. Not, I hasten to add, because I used to take middle-aged men for a jump up Belden Moor, but because I used to start every sentence with the words, anyway, right. And my family and friends, they used to despair. They used to say, well, have you got such limited vocabulary? And I would say, language is organic. I'm from Leeds. I'm a teenager. I'm expressing myself anyway, right. So what's the problem anyway, right? When we're talking like that, you know, you need to understand that is the way I speak. My mother said your language is very limited. Then when I was about 14, I stubbed my toe on a table. I went, fucking table, like this. My mother goes, a table is an inanimate object incapable of having sexual intercourse. It therefore, by definition, cannot be a fucking table. Please learn to speak English correctly. But the one thing that we know, oh yes, is that we all turn into our mothers, yes. So 30 years later, I have now become the woman who complains about language in exactly the same way that my mum did. In fact, even worse, I have now become the complete grumpy old git who is always moaning about hey, like guys like, yeah, about how like young people are like always like talking and like talking about and moaning about verbal lubrication. And then they say, I was like, and I go, yeah, what were you not dissimilar to? And then they say, OMG, it was like, and stop. And I want to say, have you not completed that sentence because you haven't actually got anything to say? Or is it because actually you think I just know what it is you're going to say? And why have we got so many superfluous words? Now, the most superfluous word of the lot, as far as I'm concerned, is guys. And people seem incapable of kind of talking to anyone else without using the word guys these days. And I take offence. Every single time I take offence, because I'm not a guy, I'm a woman. These are guys. And what worries me is that what's happening here is we're all starting to speak with this American corporate speak. We're all starting to sound like a big homogenised lump. Now, just this week, we had more research that we are losing accents in this country. We're actually losing them. And not only are we losing the difference in our accents, we're also losing a lot of those wonderful words, those turns of phrases, those things that make us what our local area is. I met a man once in Australia on a train, and he said to me, I've heard that in England, you can tell by the way somebody speaks where they come from as close as 50 miles. I said to him, forget 50 miles, mate, it's more like 15. And that is one of the things that is just so wonderful about all our accents. It's brilliant. It's all about us. We don't want to lose the situation where English is actually the same in all these different countries. It's wonderful that it's spoken differently in all the countries. So I'm going to give you a story to explain that. I stayed in a family home in New Zealand once, and the son of the house was playing football on some decking, and his mother wanted to check if he was all right. So she shouted out to him, are you all right, son? And he replied, sweet as, mum, I'm just playing on the dick.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can see others on the Bettakultcha YouTube channel. Subscribe now and you'll be notified when new ones are uploaded.